Welcome to the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. I'm your host, Carly Johnston. You can catch us every Tuesday and Thursday on Detroit Tigers or Red Wings Facebook, YouTube, or websites. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on live notifications so you don't miss a single second. Shortly, we'll be joined by Ken Kal and have interviews with Tigers pitcher Jose Cisnero, NHL.com's Nick Cotsonika, hello, MLB.com's Jason Beck, Fox Sports Detroit's Trevor Thompson, and more. But before we get into all of that, let me bring in my co-host and dear friend, Mr. Art Regner. How's it going, Art?
I'm doing fine there, Carly. How are you?
We're obviously missing a key part of our trio, Daniela Bruce, who is out this week after losing her grandfather, her no-no. So sending love to her and her family during this tough time. Art, though, I will say, Art got us some gifts for next week's show before Christmas, so I know that'll put a smile on her face.
Yeah, I'm a very giving and caring person, as you know. I don't think they don't come any better than me, and so no, all kidding aside, in all seriousness, our thoughts and prayers and hearts go out to Daniela and her family. It's never easy. I only knew one of my grandparents when I was growing up, and he passed away when I was in 8th grade. And you think about him every day, and used to go to Tiger games with him. He hated it. You think about him every day, and used to go to Tiger games with him. He hated the Yankees, and so I know she's going through a tough time. But Daniela, she'll pull through, and we wish her and again her family nothing but the best.
She is one tough cookie. I know she'd want the show to move on. So pivoting to the big three, we have a lot to cover here.
She's a little rough around the edges, I think someone once said to me.
All right. So, again, we'll start with our first topic, something obviously we've been keeping a close eye on these past few weeks, the NHL start date. We have multiple reports from reputable sources, including Elliot Friedman, Greg Wyshynski, and Frank Saravalli, starting the league, stating that it'll start on January 13th. That's just a few weeks away, or it's insane. I love hearing these reports, especially one from Elliot Friedman that says that training camp for the non-bubble teams, which would obviously include the Red Wings, would start on December 28th. So those non-bubble teams would mean the teams that didn't make the playoffs. Kind of a little salt in the wound to reference that again.
Here you go. We're going to have you guys, you 7 teams, you're going to start early because you're so bad, and we want the whole world to know. No, I mean, all kidding aside, that means that Christmas is on a Friday. The following Monday, the Red Wings are beginning training camp, which is pretty cool. Now, Pierre LeBrun tweeted yesterday that they had marathon sessions, the NHL and the NHLPA, all during, on Sunday and on Saturday, all during the weekend. It continued into yesterday. They're hammering everything out. If it all goes according to plan, and that's always a big if it all goes according to plan, they hope to have everything wrapped up by the end of this week. Everybody votes on it. And then hopefully early next week, just before Christmas, nice Christmas present if you're a hockey fan, they'll have all the dates. They'll have everything, roster sizes, everything will be ironed out. And hopefully come December 28th, we definitely have hockey. I think that will be great. And January 13th, the start date, I would say, we'll talk to Nick Cotsonika about that. That's probably maybe a 58-game schedule. I'd like to see 62, but I'm not sure.
So how do you feel, Art? I have to ask, do you think it's unfair that these non-bubble teams are only getting a few days before guys that were just skating in the summer?
I guess, and I have to go by the athletes and, what they say and what management has said. And even what Jeff Blashill said when he was on the headliner, the longer that everybody's out, they're all kind of in the same boat. So if this would have been a quicker turnaround, let's say, and these guys just got off the ice, but it's been a couple of months now, so they would like as much time for timing and all that. I think they're a little bit behind the curve, but I don't think it's as much. I would have liked to seen them get 10 days. I think that's what Steve probably would have liked to seen them get. But maybe 5 days extra or 4 days extra, whatever it's going to. Or 3 days extra, we don't know yet until it's absolutely announced. I mean, something is better than nothing, as right. They say in the mean streets of Livonia here. So, you got to take what you can get. And so I wish it were longer. I don't think it's going to be that much of a hindrance. I know the Red Wings have been working out. Several of the guys that are going to be coming back from Europe that aren't on loan to Swedish clubs, they've been playing. So maybe it isn't that as big an issue as we originally thought.
Right. Well, once again, like we said, it's projected to be about December 28th that the Red Wings take the ice. So guys will have to stay away from those Christmas cookies. But let's head into the second topic of the Big Three, pivoting to the MLB. The Tigers were, of course, in attendance for the virtual winter meetings. But besides making a Rule 5 draft pick out of Akil Baddoo, Detroit didn't come away with any major roster changes. GM Al Avila spoke to media members over the weekend saying, quote, to go in here right now and make a big splash, then all of a sudden it doesn't work out, and then you're trying to dump the salaries the following year. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at long-term sustainability. Art, what are your thoughts on that? Avila mentioned possibly adding one or two starting pitchers and maybe an impact back with power and maybe a catcher and middle infielder. But what do you think is going to happen in this offseason?
Well, yeah, I thought it was rather interesting. No quick fixes, and I guess what he was trying to say, maybe, and I'm reading in between the lines. I have no inside information. This is just basically, as our little disclaimer says at the beginning of the show, this is just my opinion. I think that he wants not to get hamstrung by like a Jordan Zinnerman contract. $25 million a year. We're up and coming. We want, we're going to be at a point where we're going to be able to add some significant players, and we're going to have the money to do it. Ownership has always shown that, whenever we're ready to strike or we think we're within striking distance, we'll do what it takes as far as adding talent. So I'm not afraid about that. I kind of think, though, that what may happen, because it has been pretty slow, and James McCann, we tip our cap to you. You're good. Once a Tiger, always a Tiger, as I say. So good luck with the Mets. I mean, that's the Mets. I lived in New York at one time. Being the Mets is, you might as well be playing for the New Jersey Devils. But anyway, there's some Met fans, but Yankees rule that place. But good luck to James McCann. I guess my point being is this: as I just sit here and just go on and on and on, is that depending on how long this all plays out and what teams are going to do, there could be a significant player, again, my opinion, that could not sort of fall to the Tigers, but they could be in the running. I think players, especially in these uncertain times, they probably want to get deals done. They probably want to have an income coming in, and everything may be prorated again, because it doesn't look like, and I don't know this for a fact, they may or may not be able to play a 162-game schedule. There might not be fans in. That's going to wreak havoc on their economics, and so who knows? Maybe boom, somebody pops into their lap that we didn't think about. So, I like Al Avila being patient. I think another thing too is that with AJ Hinch, and this is certainly nothing against your good buddy, our good buddy, really, Ryan Gardner, but I think that I think he might. Let's see what AJ does with this group, or where AJ thinks this group is once he gets them on the field. Al said something really interesting during that scrum with the media that, you had guys signing, in February when spring training just started. You had guys signing early parts of the season sometimes. Baseball free agency, as our from MLB Pipeline, Jim Kalis told us, it's slow. It's not like, we're so used to, at least we are, hockey where they sign. It's like a free-for-all, although it didn't happen this year. Baseball a little bit slower. It takes its time. So I think let's survey the situation. Let's see where we're at. I would have loved to have seen James McCann, or at least my whole entire family would have loved to see James McCann come back. That's not going to happen. Not at $10 million a year. Good luck, though, James. We love you. But, I think they're going to go for pitching. I mean, the thing that Al Avila kind of stressed, and he said it a couple times, was that we're going to try to add one or two arms, then maybe a power bat, which would be good for protection in that lineup. And, who knows? Maybe I still think they're going to have to get an infielder too. But, Hey, I'm eager. I'm just anxious to see the season start. After AJ Hinch fired me up last week about the season, I think that I think that there's going to be maybe some surprises on this Tiger roster, and I think it might have to do with a couple of the young players. As much as I want to see Riley Green and the Torque Man unleash the torque here in Detroit, that may not happen, but I think you're going to be surprised and see some guys on this roster that we're going to be eager to see because we've heard about them for a few years at least, and to join Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal.
Love it. All right. So we'll see what happens in this offseason between AJ Hinch and Al Avila and the Tigers. We're going to move on to our third and final topic of the Big Three. Back to hockey. The World Junior Championships. Let's talk about that. I know Art's going to get all riled up about it, so it's going to be a few minutes of World Junior Championships talks. The Wings have 7 prospects playing in the World Junior Championships. This is the second most in the NHL. We could have had more players too, but 7. That's a lot of players in our organization to have playing.
Yeah, there were a couple guys on Team Sweden, Albin Greve and also William Wallander, COVID protocols. And then Robert Master Simone, who was on the preliminary list for Team USA. He and his boss, and there were other 2 guys, I think, from BU on that team. They were his teammates. They also had some COVID-19 issues, but we wish them nothing but the best. And, again, it's more precautionary than anything. But if you look at this, Team Sweden, and these games are going to be on the NHL Network if you happen to have that. They pick up the Sportsnet feed, I believe it's or TSN. It shows these games. And in Canada, they treat it just like the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then NBC Sports Network usually picks up at least the Team USA game. So, and what's good about it, it's in Canada. It's at Rogers Place in Edmonton. So the times, I'm not going to be getting up at like 3 a.m. or, for me, early 7 a.m. to watch some of these games. Everything's going to be staggered to my lifestyle. Thank you.
Just for you.
As much as I want to see Lucas Raymond, but his center's out. His center, he and Holtz, their center, it starts with an H. Forgive me, I forgot his name right now. Their center's out because the nickname for Alexander Holtz and Lucas Raymond on Team Sweden they're called the Terror Twins because they're so good and they score a lot of goals. So the Terror Twins are going to be playing without their center. But, Sweden's kind of loaded, so I'm looking forward to seeing Raymond, obviously. I think he's going to be good. Theodore Niederbach, too, guy that's been hurt, had to sit out a whole year, much like our buddy Svechnikov. I'm looking forward to seeing him, and I really want to see, I just love his name, Elmer Soderblom. I definitely want to see what Elmer can do. Gustav Berglund. We saw him last year in the development camp. He's a great prospect. Albert Johansson coming into his own. Emil Vero, defenseman for Team Sweden. Again, when the Red Wings picked him, and I think it was in the 4th round, again, off the top of my head, people were saying, whoa, they got a really good player. So, the Red Wings draft graded out very, very well, as we know. But the guy that I really, really want to see, because I'm a bit of a goaltending freak, is Jan Bednash. Or if you're in this part of the world, Bednar, but Jan Bednash, the goalie for the Czech Republic. He was rated after Askarov, and boy, I can't say Askarov very much anymore, but who I'm obsessed with. But Askarov, after Askarov, most services that I saw had Bednash as the second best goaltending prospect in the draft. That didn't happen. He kind of fell, and the Red Wings were able to nab him, I believe, in the 4th round as well. So Bednash, if he can, and I'm not sure if he's going to start a majority of games for the Czech Republic, but they have a preliminary round, so he's at least going to play early on. I'm eager to see what he can do because I think this young man, he's big. His idol is Hasek. He kind of plays like Hasek, that unorthodox. I'm all over the place. It doesn't look like I know what I'm doing. All I'm doing is stopping the puck. So I'm pretty eager. Team Sweden, they're must-see TV. If Team Sweden's playing and you're a Wings fan, you have to watch Team Sweden. Of course, I'm going to be watching the red, white, and blue, Team USA all the time as well. A lot of University of Michigan players on that team, 3. So I'm going to look at them. Canada. Even though I love Canada, I'm rooting hard against you, Canada. That Maple Leaf is going down. I say
about the Maple Leafs.
But Canada's loaded, and they're playing in Canada, so we'll see. But it's going to be a great tournament. A lot of things for Red Wing fans to look at, and don't sleep on Vero either for Finland. That kid's pretty good. Red Wings were very fortunate to get him where they got him in the draft.
Absolutely. Like Art said, a lot to be watching in this World Junior Championships. Again, they're in Edmonton in a bubble, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But that is it for the Big Three. Thank you to Chevy for sponsoring it. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. And with that, it is now time for the mailbag presented by Little Caesars. And this is where we bring in the people's announcer and our dear friend, Ken Kal. Cal, how's it going?
Doing good, Carly. Doing good, Art. And I echo your sentiments about Daniela and the loss of her grandfather. She's in my prayers and wishing her the best during these troubled times. But other than that, getting ready for Christmas. You see the tree in the background and ready for a happy holiday.
Ken, I have to say, this is a very artistic look. I don't know how you did it, but you have the tree behind you, but you also have it in your mirror. I mean, that is just, I'll bet you Steven Spielberg even has tears welling up in his eyes when he sees how that shot is framed. Beautiful, my friend, beautiful.
And did you notice how centered it was with the mirror?
Oh, yeah. Really. It can't get any better than that, Ken. Beautiful. Absolutely. I don't know if it's you. I don't know if it's Darlene. I don't know if you hired a neighbor kid to, position the tree just so right or whatever. But great job. Just an excellent, excellent job by you.
I think it's our producer, Mark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mark kind of lined it up for me, I think.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Love it. All right. We're going to hop right into the questions after that beautiful articulation of Ken's shot. First question is for you, Ken. Jerry from Essex asks, rumors are heating up about the Wings and Tampa doing a deal. Which player should the Wings go after?
Now, are you asking me what I would do, or are you asking me what I think the Red Wings would do? Because if it was up to me, I'd go after Kucherov and Vasilevsky. What do you think, Art?
Well, I would definitely go after Kucherov and Vasilevsky, especially since the Red Wings passed on Kucherov 3 times in his draft year. So, yeah, I would definitely try to make up for that lapse in judgment. And Vasilevsky, as you know, Kenny, Stevie, being Steve, took him in the first round, 19th overall, which was a pick. That was the Red Wings pick in that draft that he got in the Kyle Quincy deal. So, so I think somehow both of those guys were destined to be Red Wings. It just didn't happen.
Well, you know what?
But Ken, what do you think is realistic here?
Well, here's the thing. I know the names have been bandied about. 2 of them were Tyler Johnson and Alex Killorn. And I'm telling you, if it were up to me, I don't think I would want any of those 2 players. They're great hockey players, and they mean a lot to the Tampa Bay team, and those 2 players would definitely help Detroit. What I'm looking at, though, is I'm looking at their ages right now. Tyler Johnson's 30 years old, Killorn's 31 years old, and they both have big contracts and a lot of term left on their deals. Killorn's making, I think, $4.4 million for the next 3 years. Tyler Johnson's making $5 million for the next 4 years. So you're doing something. If the Red Wings go after one or both of those guys, they're doing something that they haven't really done in the past in building this team for the future, and that's going after aging free agents and long-term and big money. So I just think those are the 2 names that I think Tampa want. They want a salary dump is what they want, and they got to get within the cap. And, they're looking at ways and how they can get a couple of players, to different teams so that they can be under the cap. So, again, they're solid players. I've always liked Alex Killorn. I think he's one of the underrated players on that Tampa Bay team. He always seems to be in the right place, hardworking guy. Tyler Johnson, we all know about him and his battles with Luke Glendening, especially when the Red Wings were in playoffs with Tampa Bay back-to-back years. But again, not that 30 and 31-year-old players are old, but they are getting up there, and you're going to pay them a lot of money. And I just think that if you do get one or both of those players, now they take up one or two roster spots. And let's face it, in the next 2 years or maybe even sooner, you've got guys like Lucas Rehmann who'll be coming up, Veleno, Rasmussen, and you don't want to. You want those young guys when they're ready to play in the NHL to play in the NHL, and you don't want an older veteran player in there so they can't come in there and develop and play in the NHL. So I would say that they're great names, very solid hockey players, but if it were up to me, I would pass on the deal.
I don't know. Art has a question or a statement to make.
Well, Ken, I think the longer Steve waits, the sweeter the deal becomes. I mean, it's his old team. Won a Stanley Cup. If I were still on the radio, I'd have a movement right now to get Steve's name on the Stanley Cup under Tampa Bay for what he did to that team. But I won't do that. It would have been a good radio bit though. But with that said, I look at it this way: Yanni Gourde would be the guy that I would go after. I think he might fall into that too. I think that he has a little more hockey left in him. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, this is a long term to take. So unless Steve can get a first or second round, or maybe a first and a second, I mean, Tampa's going to have to sweeten the deal for him. They're really going to have to sweeten the deal. And if you're going to sweeten the deal with Detroit, what you're going to end up doing is draft picks. And Steve's not going to say, yeah, give me a third, a fourth, and, a bag of pucks. He's going to say, give me your first round pick, a couple of seconds, and then I'll take, Tyler Johnson. And we like Tyler Johnson. He's a Red Wing killer, as we know, but he could, no one picked him up on waivers. He cleared and all that because of his contract. It's the contract. It's the age. Everyone says that maybe he's a step slower. Does Steve want to inherit that? I don't think so. So, I believe Yanni Gourde is part of that triumvirate of three guys that they're trying to move. That would be, if I were Steve, the longer he waits, maybe he says Gourde, a number one pick, and a fourth rounder. And I'll take this salary off your hands, because Gourde you could move him too at the trade deadline.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Is even if you took Killorn or Johnson or Gourde, if you really wanted to, you could probably move that player to a better team come the trade deadline. That's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Well, whoever, if they do decide to make a deal and make some moves, hopefully those Tampa players don't have the Stanley Cup hangover. But we have a question, too, coming to Art. Pete from Monroe asks, winter meetings were quiet. We are starting to see some moves. After seeing some of the moves, do you like the Tigers playing the slow game, as we kind of mentioned earlier in the Big Three?
Yeah, actually I do. And usually I'm impatient. I would like to quickly move. And I think if there was more of a domino effect, if a couple of guys have moved, Atlanta made some moves. We see what the Mets did with James McCann, but no one's doing anything at this point. And I think it's because no one exactly knows what the 2021 season is going to entail. Certainly there's a vaccine. It seems that hopefully by summertime, things will begin to open up slowly but surely. Maybe next year at this time, we're looking at a world that we grew up with, that's a little bit normal and what we're used to. So I think that this is a very smart philosophy for the Tigers. Now, I know when they signed Pudge Rodriguez and Maglio Ordonez, at that time, except for like Zamaya and Justin Verlander, the minor leagues weren't really churning players out. And so this is a little bit different situation. I mean, the Tigers have a lot of high-end prospects right now, and I'm willing to bet, unless there is a domino effect and there's a run on players, maybe then Al Avila is compelled to do something as it plays itself out. But I think at this point, let's get down there. We got a great manager in AJ Hinch. We've got a great coaching staff. The players have talked to all these coaches and AJ, and they're all eager to get down there. Let's see what we have and then fill it out maybe that way. Maybe a guy like CJ Cron, again, I don't know this for a fact, but maybe a guy like CJ Cron Coming off that knee injury, it's healing, it's fine. Maybe you go to him. Maybe you go to Jonathan Scope. Maybe you go to back what you're used to. Who knows? Maybe Austin Romine comes back into the mix. You just don't know. But, Al Avila said no quick fixes. Again, as I said earlier, I don't think he wants to have a Jordan Zimmerman contract where the guy, unfortunately, just, it wasn't that he wasn't any good. He just couldn't stay healthy, and you're paying him $25 million a year. So, that's off the books. I think he does not want to be in a position where he goes out, gets, intoxicated with thinking, so-and-so can be a Tiger. I love this guy. You sign him to a big, long deal. It doesn't work out. And then you're trying to trade, a contract, 15, 16, $20 million a season. And let's be honest, especially with what we're going through right now, I don't know if many teams would be eager to take that on. We just talked about Tampa. No one's really knocking down the door for their guys either. Everybody's kind of, keeping, all the little dimes and nickels in their change purse and just holding it, waiting to see how it all plays out.
All right, I love your passion talking about anything and everything. With that, we're going to move on to question number 3 for Ken. Russ from Bay City asks, the Panthers are starting a goaltending excellence department. Do you think this is something everyone will start doing soon?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's certainly something that the Florida Panthers are thinking outside the box. And, there's two schools of thought right here. You can get a lot of good players together, good goalies together, and goalies think differently. I know Art will attest to that than everybody else on the team, but you get all of them together, and maybe that's a way of helping your squad down the road and in the future. On the other hand, it's the old saying, too many cooks in the kitchen will spoil the broth, and sometimes you get too many people involved, and you're going all different types of directions. I don't think you can get the job done. So I really like the fact that if you have a really good goaltender coach, a guy that can relate to your goaltenders, and then be the go-between between him and the head coach, I think you're doing okay. But again, a lot of goaltenders think differently. They all have their own ideas. So I guess it's like coaches. If you have a lot of coaches on your coaching staff, maybe they all have their different input, and it really helps the team in the long run. But to me, I really just like the one goaltending coach and have him be a go-between between the head coach and the goaltenders.
Yeah, sometimes you do get too many cooks in a kitchen. That's a very good point, Ken. I never looked at, when I heard about it, I didn't really look at the cons that it could pose. All right, well, question number 4 we have for both of you guys, starting with Art and then going to Ken. Kevin from Northville asks, I love this. Holy mackerel, we're a month out from hockey, so it's time we brush up on our Mickey-isms for the season. Well, we get a Ginger Al. What are your favorites? You guys know I love Beck, and he calls me Carhartt Carly because I wear Carhartt for the games. So what are some of your favorite Mickey-isms?
First of all, we all know Mickey loves his flannel, and no one wears it better than Mickey. Back in 2002, when the Western Conference Finals started, Fox Sports Detroit couldn't broadcast or telecast any more games, but Ken Daniels and Mickey still traveled with the team, and Ken and Paul were doing the radio broadcast, and the booth was really big. Unlike the old Joe Louis Arena, the booth was really big in Colorado, so we could stand behind them as they called the game. And I want everyone to know that his Mickey-isms during the game, even though he wasn't telecasting or broadcasting it, he still says them. He'd look at me and go, "Oh, Arthur, this is no place for a nervous person." He would always say them to me. So, and I don't want to say all of them because I know Ken has a few, but without question, my favorite is the BC two-hander. I just love that one because, he loves the physical stuff. He loves the rough and tumble game. And so when Mickey, Mickey is jacked and Mickey is charged when he says, "Oh, I gave him the old BC two-hander there." Something I'm not sure how often he uses it these days because you can't give a lot of BC two-handers in the way hockey's played today. But when he breaks that one out, it just brings a big smile to my face. I love the BC two-hander.
That's a good one. Art, I've had a lot of ginger ales with Mickey and Paul and you and everybody on the road, and we've all had our good times. And, the one the one saying that Mickey uses, and he doesn't always use it, but I know I heard it a few times. I don't think I'm making it up, but he always, the no place for the nervous person. I mean, this has something to do with that. And he said he's like a nervous person in a room. It's like a room full of cats with long tails and a room full of rocking chairs. And so, if you have a bunch of cats in a room with a bunch of rocking chairs, sooner or later, that tail's going to get caught on the rocking chair, right? So, he doesn't use that one too often, but the ginger ale line is always good because we can all relate to that.
Right. Well, I always like that. I kind of like where he kind of lets the commissioner know exactly where he's coming from, and he sprinkles that throughout his telecasts, and I've always liked that. When he says bingo bango, something good is about to happen. He just has so many of them though. But the Cats one, no place for a nervous person. I mean, Mickey. I can remember when they traded for Mickey Redmond. And Frank Mahovlich left the Red Wings in that deal, and I was devastated. I mean, I love the Big M, but now looking back on it, and I've actually written about this a few times over the years for FoxSportsDetroit.com, is that Frank Mahovlich left, and he was a great player, the Big M. That line of Howe, Delvecchio, Mahovlich, it was like the third or fourth incarnation of the production line. I mean, they were that good. But then to get Mickey in return, so that was a good trade-off. That was a really good trade-off. But that deal was not initially, at least in my household, like my bedroom. It did not go over well when the Big M was traded for Mickey.
You know what, Carly and Art, one of the things that I really feel bad about with Mickey is the fact that when we had the brawl at the Joe with the Avalanche, he actually went down towards the locker room. I don't think he was in the booth when all that took place, when Igor started it with Forsberg and the whole fight broke out. I want to say that he had to go downstairs and do an intermission update, and I don't think he was on the air during all that took place. And to me, Mickey, he's the guy that always says, nobody sits down during a fight. Well, that was the biggest brawl in the world I think we've all seen, and I'm not so sure that that he saw it. First of all, if he did, he was at ice level by the bench. But other than that, I always felt bad about that.
Yeah, that blow, especially because that would have been there were a lot of BC two-handers and a lot of just good old Donnybrook fisticuffs going on the ice that time. Man, obviously an iconic moment in Red Wing history. And so it's rules. Right. Mickey is an iconic person too. The best thing about March 26th is that Darren McCarty was not kicked out of that game somehow. I don't know how. He was not kicked out, and he scores the game winner in overtime. I mean, if you didn't think the Red Wings were going to win the Cup that year, they were never going to win it. I mean, that was divine intervention that day.
I'm crazy to think this is Mick's 50th season with the Red Wings. But one thing, this isn't exactly a Mickeyism, but one thing, one of my favorite things about Mickey is his love for essential oils. You can always smell, you always know where Mick has been because you can smell the essential oils, like the aroma is still in the room. You guys have to know what I'm talking about. He uses it for everything. If it doesn't feel good, he'll put it on.
To him on the plane.
Yeah, you smell it. He traveled with that case of essential oils. Yeah.
Really?
Love it. Well, hey, what is he? 71, 2? How old is he now?
I don't know. He's got to be in his 70s, right?
Yeah, I think he's early 70s. He's around like he's 18 years old. So, hey, those essential oils work.
Mickey's great. I'll tell this story later, before the holiday ends. But my mom was a big Mickey Redmond fan, and Mickey really liked my mom, and he always asked about her. But when they traded for Mickey Redmond, she said to me, she goes, "Arthur, the Red Wings have a new player. He looks like Errol Flynn, who was a big movie star, swashbuckling movie star back, way before your time, Carly, but he was like Robin Hood. Yeah, he was General Custer, I mean, and she would say, he looks like Errol Flynn. Well, I told Mickey that, and Mickey just absolutely loved it because, Errol Flynn was a really good looking dude, man. So I mean, that was, I always remember that, Errol Flynn. He always asked me how my mom was, but that's another, that I'll save that for another day.
He's an amazing guy, and I would love to have a good old Mick ginger ale with him right now. But one thing I know that goes well with a ginger ale is a hot and ready pepperoni cheeser.
Absolutely.
You like that transition?
Yeah. Whoa.
Thank you so much for joining us, Ken. I appreciate it. But you can get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. Don't go anywhere, though. I know we just wrapped up the mailbag with Ken Kal, but we still have tons of fun planned for the rest of the show, including chats with MLB.com's Jason Beck, NHL.com's Nick Cotsonika, and FSD's Trevor Thompson. But for now, it is time to catch up with Jose Cisnero, who I spoke to earlier this morning. It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. And today, we're lucky to be joined by Detroit Tigers pitcher Jose Cisnero and Tigers media relations bilingual coordinator Carlos Jan. How's it going, guys?
Very, very good. ¿Cómo estás, José?
Bien, gracias a Dios, estamos aquí. Tú sabes, el día de la mañana, levantándonos temprano para ver ni que sean los rayos de la luz del sol.
So, very, very good. We're waking up early in the morning just to see the sun rising.
Oh, love it. Very cool. I can barely get up for work. It's a struggle for me.
Ella no se puede ni parar porque eso es muy difícil para ella, pararse temprano en la mañana.
All right, let's hop into things. Awesome, Jose. So after your second season with the Tigers, do you feel that you've established yourself as a reliable reliever?
¿Sientes que después de la segunda temporada con los Tigres eres un relevista en el que pueden confiar en ti?
Sí, tú sabes, tiene los proyectos que uno ha hecho y pensando para mantener una carrera larga.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've always had projects, and I have projects for myself, and I'm working hard on it. And the focus is having a long career in Major League Baseball. So yes.
Well, here's hoping so. Your story to get here, where you're at right now, is really cool. When the Tigers extended a non-roster invite to you for their 2019 spring training camp, you had been out of the major leagues for 4 years. But Al Avila luckily had faith in you. Of course, seeing how well you were doing in the Dominican Winter League helped. How happy were you to get that call from Al Avila?
Bueno, pasaste, antes de estar aquí en Detroit, estuviste 4 años fuera de Grandes Ligas, hasta que el gerente general Al Ávila pues se fijó en ti, los números que pusiste en ligas menores, los números que pusiste en la Liga Dominicana. ¿Qué significó para ti que te hayan dado la oportunidad de estar de regresar a los Estados Unidos en Grandes Ligas con los Tigres de Detroit?
Para mí fue un momento muy especial. Yo transcurso de mi trabajo, nunca bajé la cabeza, siempre estuve en alto, mirando y pidiéndole a Dios cada día más, trabajando fuerte. Y creo que mi punto de vista de todo esto es que el trabajo lo puede todo, ¿me entiendes? Y porque nunca te dejé de trabajar. Yo sabía el potencial que yo tenía en mi brazo y con pequeñas cosas trabajándolo yo lo he logrado.
It was a very special moment. I put myself a very hard workload on myself and never put my head down, always had my head up. And every day I was praying to God to help me and give me the opportunity. I work very hard. My perspective or my point of view is that if you work hard, you can do whatever you can. So I never stopped working. I knew what was the potential that I had on my arm and all the tiny stuff on it, but fortunately I got back.
Well, luckily you did, and you improved greatly from the 2019 to the 2020 season. Your numbers, notably your command, and also your slider and four-seamer have improved. What did you do differently this year to become a better reliever for the team?
Y comparando 2019-2020, tus números han mejorado muchísimo, mejor con la recta de 4 posturas, mejor con el slider. ¿Qué hiciste de diferente entre una temporada y otra que tuvo ese gran progreso para ti?
Como le digo, en el 2018, ¿verdad? En el 2018, 2019, por ahí, yo fui con una preparación diferente a la de 2019, ¿me entiendes? Eh, yo trabajé, como le estoy diciendo, el pitching coach me decía que yo tenía que sacar el brazo corto y trabajar en eso para tener éxito. Y me enfoqué a trabajar mi brazo corto, la salud primero y nada, y lo logré. Fui diferente y eso me dio muchos resultados.
Between those 2 seasons, I had a very full mindset. I was preparing myself on my mind, and I was working with a pitching coach. So he told me every time that I put my arm short, the short release on my arm. So if I had to work hard to do that, I was gonna get the success, and I was gonna earn my success, and that's what happened. I focused on that, and I focused also on staying healthy, and I made it. And I was able to fulfill what he wanted me to do, and you see the difference.
Well, we saw the difference too. And per stats, per Fangraphs, you ranked as the 9th most valuable reliever in the game this season. What do you feel you need to work on during this offseason in order to be first overall come the end of next season?
De acuerdo con la página Fangraphs, que evalúa las estadísticas de jugadores, eres el 9º mejor relevista de todas las grandes ligas. ¿En qué te vas a enfocar para trabajar en este receso de postemporada o en el invierno para convertirte en el número 1 y no ser el número 9?
Bueno, eso lleva mucho trabajo, ¿me entiendes? Yo me tengo que enfocar más de lo que yo me enfoqué el año pasado, este año, como que dice, porque no se ha ido, más de lo que me enfoqué este año. Y creo que mi prioridad es trabajar lo suficiente, mi picheo rompiente. Yo sé que mis rectas están ahí y nada, hacer lo mejor posible de mejorar las localizaciones de los picheos.
It takes a lot of work. I focus mostly, especially what I focused the most this year was working on as a priority on my breaking pitches, on my breaking balls. So I know my fastball is there. I know how good it is, and I'm working very hard in this offseason to put a better location, have more command, a better command on my pitches. But those 2 things, location and command, and focus on my breaking balls.
Love it. Well, can't wait to see you back on the field, back on the mound. Jose and Carlos, thank you guys so much for joining me on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. I certainly need to brush up on my Spanish. I can understand about half the things you guys were saying. And Carlos, I love having you here, but hopefully someday, I can do the translating. I can just have the interview in Spanish.
I'll be more than happy to see you doing that. José, ella dice que está agradecida de que hayas estado con nosotros y pues feliz de que puedas estar con nosotros y que entendió un poquito lo que estábamos hablando en español.
Ok, está bien, gracias y siempre estamos a la orden. Soy uno más y siempre estoy aquí activo y usted sabe que me pueden llamar en cualquier entrevista.
He says he's always happy to be here with you. So give him a call whenever you want. He'll be more than happy to help. And now me speaking, Carlos again speaking. Thank you, and looking forward to see you doing it in Spanish. We can chat whenever you want.
Gracias. There we go.
There you go.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, especially this morning.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Really need to brush up on that Spanish. The Tigers love doesn't stop there. We also wanted to highlight a very special project they did over the weekend in Detroit with the Players Alliance Pull Up Neighbor campaign, a nationwide tour to distribute personal protective equipment, youth baseball gear, and food to communities in need. Check it out.
Here we are with the Players Alliance. We're supporting them and supporting the community and giving out food items, some baseball equipment, and supporting the community here. So we're spreading the love and spreading the cheer and spreading the hope.
What a great morning so far. Being able to provide COVID essentials, teaming up with the food pantry here, being able to provide food for the families coming through, and just some love, just some inspiration. So,
the best thing is seeing the kids' faces, like when they get a new glove, when they get a new bat. It's always the best thing. I'm from Detroit. I'm from the west side of Detroit, and I always have the new bat, new glove. So for them to get new bats and new gloves, it's pretty good seeing their faces, and that's a good thing.
And the Tigers have gave me, many opportunities to put on that uniform and give it my all. So I'm always indebted to, the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, and I'm going to continue to do whatever I can to help out and give back.
Very cool seeing them get involved, from Cameron Maben to Werner Blakely Jr., who I spoke to last week. But the Tigers ended up giving away over 1,000 pantry boxes at both Flint and Detroit locations, serving 2,000 families through their pull-up mobile program. The Tigers are very active in the community, so make sure to check out Tigers social media for more of their community activities coming up, especially through the holidays. But now it is time for Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. All right, so what's going to happen here is we're looking at Red Wings hat trick trivia to try to stump Art. All of these trivia questions are based on things that happened on December 15th in previous years. All right, Art, are you ready?
I couldn't be any more ready. Fire away, Carly. Let's go.
Love it. Wait, I just have to say, is that a tree on your cat castle? Is that new, or have I just not noticed that yet?
No, that is new. Actually, that I could turn it on and the lights would flicker on and off. They're red lights, but I figured after a prolonged period, and I don't know if this is true or not, but if you start concentrating on the lights blinking on and off, I think you go insane. So I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I definitely would. So maybe, it looks good now. Let's keep it off. I don't want to distract from staring at your
I won't turn it on, though. Trust me, next Tuesday's holiday extravaganza of the Word on Woodward,
yeah.
I will definitely have it on.
I'm ready.
All right. I got another surprise, too. So we're all set.
A man with a bag full of surprises, but we're going to head into this Red Wings trivia. Question number 1. Today, why did I say that so dramatically? Today in Red Wings history, the oldest defenseman to score a hat trick in NHL history happened. Which player was it? Was it A, Chris Chelios, B, Nick Lidstrom, or C, Matthew Schneider?
Let me see. I'm going to say it. I think it was Nick. I think he didn't. I think he scored it late in his career, obviously, if he was the oldest. But I think he scored, and I think it was the only hat trick he ever scored, if I remember correctly. So I will say one of the greatest defensemen of all time, if not the greatest. He and Bobby Orr, 1A and 1A. Nick Lidstrom.
That is correct, Art. Good work. In 2010, Nick was also the oldest NHLer to record his first career hat trick at 40 years old. Chelios, despite playing in over 1,600 games, never got a hat trick, and Schneider held the record before Lidstrom, scoring a hat trick with the Wings at 36 years old. All right, so you're 1 for 1.
All right.
We're going to question number 2.
I'm going to Santa's reindeer. That must be helping.
I think
Santa's playing net too, so he's into it.
Oh, that's cute, Art. I didn't even notice that. I like that. He must be helping you with this trivia.
Mike Green liked this sweater a lot. It was his number. What?
Yeah, cute. All right, we'll head into question number 2. Excuse me. Today in 1989, Steve Yzerman, so this is true or false? Or no, I'm sorry. Hello, it's not. It's multiple choice. In 1989, Steve Yzerman scored his 7th career hat trick. That also included his 250th career goal. How many hat tricks did Steve have in his career? Was it A, 18, B, 23, or C, 17? Glad I finally made it through that question.
He was a prolific scorer, as we know, especially early on in his career. But hat tricks, I'm going to play it safe. I really do not know this answer, so this is a sheer guess. I know as many people think that I'm obsessed with Steve. I'm not that obsessed with him that I know virtually every statistic in his career. I'm now concentrating on Steve, the executive, not Steve, the player. So I would say, I'm going to say 18. I'm just going to say 18. I think 23 is pretty high, and that would be something that we would hear about. 17, a little too low, but just like the porridge or something, this one was just right. 18 seems to be just right.
Well, Art, it is. It was 18. The last hat trick would happen 10 years after this one against Anaheim. I love how you tried to preface this answer with, "Oh, I'm not quite sure," because everyone thinks I'm obsessed with Steve, but I'm not.
I swear to God, I did not know the answer to that one. I did not know. I seriously, usually I did not know.
All right. Well, you're 2 for 2.
I'm going to keep these ears on all the time.
Yeah. Those might be helping you. I
It
might
goes
appear
right on your temples too. It's
I
kind of
can't
cool.
get through.
Oh yeah, that feels good.
Oh, okay. We're gonna move on to question number 3. Now that we've established Yzerman had 18 hat tricks, which one of his teammates did not have more career hat tricks? Was it A, Brendan Shanahan, B, Brett Hull, or C, Dino Ciccarelli? Why can't I get this multiple choice right?
Wow, I'll tell you something. Brett Hall had like 700 goals. I mean, I'm sure he had like a lot of hat tricks, and Brendan never passed up shooting on that empty net. So I am going to say, even though he was great and he scored a lot in front of the net, he was like Thomas Holmstrom before Homer was Homer in the National Hockey League. And it pains me to say this because he's my buddy, but I'm going to say it was Dino Ciccarelli.
Wrong. Dino Ciccarelli had 19 career hat tricks. Even while scoring more hat tricks, Steve scored 84 more goals than Dino in his career. But the correct answer is A, Brendan Shanahan. He tied Yzerman with 18 career hat tricks. And Brett Hull, you were kind of right about that. Brett sits at 4th all-time with 33 career hat tricks. NHL leader is Wayne Gretzky with 50. So, few fun facts of the day.
Wow, I'll tell you something. Brett, well, first of all, in a strange sense, these were, 19. He had 19, Steve's number, and then Steve had 18, and then Brendan had 18 as well. But the question was, did more hat tricks? So they were tied. So that's correct. But that was a very sly question to ask. But 2 out of you know what? We definitely need a bet. The ears let me down on that one. But let's face it. I mean, you know what's really interesting when you show these players and the players that have worn the winged wheel. I mean, you're talking hat tricks. Brendan Shanahan, Brett Hull, and Steve Yzerman, they're all Hall of Famers. I mean, that's, that you just sit back and you just think about, how fortunate we are. And it's sporadic. I mean, that's how professional sports is. But when you have a really good team, I mean, my gosh, they're really good. You're talking some of the immortals of the game, put on your team's uniform, which is always cool. So, Steve, obviously, if he didn't have injury, I think his career points are 1,756. I think I might be wrong. And Gordie Howe had more points, obviously, because he played for different teams, but he had 1,809 for the Red Wings. He's the top scorer in Red Wing history. Steve didn't have a plethora of injuries during his career. I actually think that he could have ended up as the Red Wings all-time leading scorer, past Gordie, or else in Steve's typical way, he would have hit 1,808 and said, you know what? I'm not scoring any more points. Don't even give me the puck. It's going to be Gordy and it's going to be me.
Our Steve Eiserman knowledge of the day. I think we've Steved you out, Art. So with that, thank you so much. Good work. 2 out of 3. Give yourself a Carly pat on the back for that. And we want to say thank you to PointsBet Sportsbook. PointsBet is an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. Download the app and follow PointsBet USA on social media for more information. Still a lot to look forward to on this stream. We'll be joined by NHL.com's Nick Cotsonika and FSD's Trevor Thompson. But for now, let's pivot to Brush Street Beat, presented by McLaren Health System. And today, Art and I are pleased to be joined by MLB.com's Jason Beck. How's it going, Jason?
Good. I seem to come on the days when Art has interesting hats going. I feel like he had the Nebraska last time I saw him.
I forgot I even put this on. That was my brain cap for the trivia. But maybe I'll leave it on for a while. I wish you could see the top of it. You know what, Jason? Don't get me wrong. It's always great having you on. We love you. You're one of our favorite guests. I love you like a little brother. But what is this clean shaven look, man? I just cannot get into it. I'm sorry. I figured by this time you'd have the full Santa Claus beard going.
Well, I thought about it, and I thought, what, we don't want to scare the children, if they're home on holiday break or something. We'll just go clean shaven for now. Plus, there's something about feeling that frigid cold on a morning against your face when you go out for a run. So that's what we had today.
I mean, you're not a bad-looking man. I mean, Carly has commented how handsome you are many, many times. So I'm just saying, though, but that rugged look, that's a good look, especially this time of year. But I digress. Carly, I know she has a lot of questions for you. I'm just going to sit back and be entertained.
Jason, you look good no matter what, but we do have lots to talk about here. We heard from Al Avila over the weekend, so we're going to start, and I'm going to jump into my first question. After hearing Avila say they're casting a wide net in search for free agent hitters, CJ Cron and Jonathan Scope are possibilities, but he mentioned having to keep their options open. So are these guys, when I say these guys, I mean Cron and Scope, are these guys you think they'll keep around, or do you think the Tigers will shop around?
I think they're among the options they have, but I think the Tigers want to – I think Al Avila is curious to see what is and who are available when you get past the holidays and you get to the later – what usually is the later stages of the free agent season, but which this year could end up comprising the bulk of the free agent signings. I think part of the holdup is that there are just so many free agents out there, and not many of them have signed. Other than the Royals, there really haven't been many teams that have been particularly active so far. And you add that in with the fact that the top free agents really at most any position haven't gone anywhere yet, at a point where a year ago we had a pretty good idea, if not firm signings, on where everybody was going. Really, the biggest signing so far has been James McCann.
Al also said, he said this a couple of times, no quick fixes. And I guess I read a little too much into it. As I said earlier, that he doesn't want to get another Jordan Zimmerman at $25 million, which looks good. And unfortunately, because of health issues more than anything, that was $25 million that you might as well have put in a garbage can and lit on fire. I'm kind of curious. Do you like that philosophy of no quick fixes? That it's not going to turn around. We're in this for the long haul.
I think particularly this offseason, it makes sense. I made this point over the weekend, is that, look, if the Tigers were going to go all in and look for long-term deals to fill some holes, I don't think this offseason would be the one to do it. I think next offseason, when you have that massive class of free agent hitters and pitchers, but particularly that group of free agent shortstops that is currently slated to include Francisco Lindor and Corey Seager and Carlos Correa, guys like that, if you were going to go big to try to make a jump into contention, that would seem to be the time to do it, both because of that free agent class, and mind you, Justin Verlander is on that free agent class too, if you're going to look at the pitching group. And I think ever since Verlander's Tommy John surgery, I've had people, clamoring on Twitter, when are the Tigers going to sign this guy back so he can finish his career in Detroit? So, if you're going to do something like that, not that Verlander was going to be like a long-term deal at his age, but if you're going to go big, that offseason would be the one to do it. Right now, I just don't know if this group is deep enough to really where the Tigers could go big. I know there's been some speculation that a JT Realmuto could end up lingering on the market into the later stages, and people want to make the comparison. Well, the Tigers went in big on Pudge once upon a time, and that paid off big for them. It really heralded their return to relevancy. I don't know if he's in the same situation. I'd be surprised if he lingers on the market like that.
Kind of on that, when you look at the team, Miguel Cabrera is pretty much the only Tigers player currently on a guaranteed contract. After a season without fan revenue and with the pandemic, could the team be in a position financially to lock down a player with a good contract?
Well, that's the thing, and that's one of the things that Al Avila talked about the other day as well, is that there's still a lot of uncertainty amongst not just the Tigers, but I think a lot of clubs as to what the season's going to look like, what revenues are going to look like, and really, what they're going to be able to hold down financially. We keep hearing reports about, are they going to play 162 games? Could it end up being shorter? Is spring training going to start on time? Is spring training going to be shorter? What is a minor league season going to look like? There's a lot of hints, at least on the minor league side, that we're going to have a shorter season, but at least a season compared to what really was a lost year last year. And that plays into a role into development on what you can expect for some of these prospects, notably guys like Matt Manning, Alex Faedo, but also guys like Mize and Skubal, to where are you going to be able to count on them to get a full season in? Are you going to have them coming in to compete for jobs, or you want them to go to AAA and kind of top off their development with at least a partial season of AAA ball against some veteran hitters there? So I think that uncertainty is what is slowing down the market as well as some of this other stuff.
All right, let me follow. Sorry to step on you.
Go ahead.
I'll hand it off to you to take it home. But Jason, you mentioned a few young pitchers. Vila said they'd ideally add a pitcher. Looking around the league, who would be a good fit for this team, and who can we afford?
Well, I know the Tigers been linked with Taijuan Walker, who came back and had a pretty good season with the Mariners and Blue Jays this past season. I think that's probably what you're looking at. Guys on the rebound, maybe not necessarily guys coming off of Tommy John surgery, who were still going to have some rehab to go through. We kind of saw what that first year back looked like with a guy like Michael Fulmer. But guys like that who have had that first season in, and you can bet on that second season back, which by and large, that second season back from Tommy John is the one where you start getting guys who look more like their old selves and who can realistically look at a bounce back. And you kind of see that with guys coming off of other surgeries as well. I thought Drew Smiley would have been a strong candidate, but the Braves, God bless them, made an aggressive move and signed him to a one-year deal, I think for $11 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, that took one of those guys. But guys in that type of time frame, in that kind of stage of their careers, those are the guys who I would expect the Tigers to pursue and try to go after. You don't always hit on them. We saw a couple of years ago with Matt Moore and Tyson Ross that it doesn't always work out. And sometimes, guys with injury histories end up getting hurt again. But if you can look into the time frame and you can look into where they are age-wise and health-wise. Usually there's somebody there that you can kind of hope can come in and not only compete for a job, but hopefully stabilize your rotation. And most importantly, I think for what the Tigers are looking at right now, give you some depth, because the Tigers are looking up and down this pitching staff and saying, if we get something close to 162 game season, how can we ramp these guys up safely? What's a realistic innings range to look at for these guys who only had 60 game seasons? And how do we fill the rest of those innings so that we can get through a season competitively?
Jason, the Tigers have added a couple of players within the last week. Rule 5 pickup from the Twins outfielder, Akil Baddoo, who, I'm not going to say he was, but he almost was kind of almost like a Riley Green of his draft class. Out of high school, was really, really well thought of. Al Avila spoke highly of him and said, listen, if he does enough to stay on this roster for the year, we look like we have a really good prospect. And then they signed him to a minor league contract, I believe yesterday, a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. Good old left-handed pitcher Ian Cole is back. So, do you like these moves? Were you surprised? Maybe not so much with Cole. You can never have enough pitching, but that Baddoo was the guy that they chose in the Rule 5 draft.
I actually was a bit surprised at Baddoo. I thought they were going to go for pitching in part to help cover those innings like I talked about earlier. And there certainly were a decent number of intriguing arms out there. But from what it sounds like, they like the package of athleticism that Baddoo brings. And, there's projection that goes into it because he didn't have a season last year. So there was a lot of that going on. But, there's been comparisons out there to like a Victor Reyes type of power, or maybe a Derek Hill with a little bit more offensive upside. He does get high marks defensively, at least potentially. So when you look at the prototypical Comerica Park outfielder, that guy who can hit for some power, can certainly hit for extra base power, but also covers ground in the outfield and projects as a plus defender, that's who Baddoo profiles as. And so from that standpoint, the Tigers the Tigers have those type of players. I don't think they have enough for their liking. And so from that standpoint, this type of pick makes sense, although I still am surprised that they didn't go the pitching route on that. Kroll, I was surprised by Kroll. But then again, a minor league contract with a big league invite, it's not the first time they've done that with guys like this. He actually ended up pitching indie ball last year out in the Chicago area. And so it's really hard to judge what he was doing last year in a typical season standpoint, but he did dominate those hitters. And I think most importantly, he was working on kind of retooling his game away from being that power lefty, reportedly, to being more of a guy who can throw a 3 or 4 pitch mix and keep guys off balance. He was trying to work in a curveball, which I don't know if we saw much, if at all, during his 2 seasons here in Detroit. So it's intriguing. It's a flyer, basically, to see what he has and to kind of give a guy who has had some good seasons and who has had some production another shot. And the Tigers are in a position to where they can offer those opportunities, at least on non-roster invites.
Well, you know what? I know I have the city of Ann Arbor and Notre Dame college hockey fans. I think I said Ian Cole, defenseman. So yeah, the Tigers. They're an aggressive organization and think out of the box, but they did not sign an NHL defenseman to a minor league contract. So yeah, Kroll, not Cole. But with that said, I have to ask you real quickly. I don't know how the Mexican League or the Dominican Republic League, but Isaac Paredes is tearing it up, still hitting 351. And then Sergio Alcantara is hitting 340 in the Dominican Republic. I mean, that is, I guess we have to be encouraged by that, right? Or am I overreacting?
No, I think you have to be encouraged. It's winter ball, and it's a different level, but the Mexican League is one reason why the Tigers have been encouraged about Paredes here for a few years. He's been down there doing, playing winter ball there for, I think, 3 of the last 4 years, if I remember right. I wrote about it last week. And he's usually held his own. Right, what he's doing this year, though, is another level up from his previous production down there. And the Tigers like it because the Mexican League is usually a league where you get some good veteran pitchers out there trying to get some work in. And it's a type of pitcher that usually tests a young hitter, especially young like Paredes is. And so for him to not only, hold his own, but hit above that and be among the league leaders in hitting, good sign. And it's a sign that he's taken what he learned from his big league stint here in Detroit and learned from it and put that into work down there. Alcantara, the Dominican League is always really strong pitching wise, and it's particularly strong this year because you've had a lot of higher ranked prospects who've had to go down there and get work to make up for their lost minor league seasons. So for Alcantara to go down there and hit, I think is a pretty good sign. It's, can he carry this forward and do a little bit more with it? Yeah, I think so. And if he can, I think you can kind of see a big league future in him, whether it's as a utility infielder or maybe even holding down, a spot like shortstop or second base on a, maybe even a platoon basis. There's a lot to work with there. It's, now you're kind of seeing that production come through.
All right. Well, Jason, I can't thank you enough for joining us. It is always so much fun getting to pick your brain. I feel like I learn something new every single time I talk to you and get to know a little bit more about this Detroit Tigers organization.
Always glad to talk to you and always glad to see what type of headgear Art's got on next.
We're always looking forward to see what's going on.
It is comfortable. I forget I even have it on.
It looks warm. It looks really freakishly warm.
It's really not, though. I mean, it's just it's like a headband, I guess.
Okay. It's more like a headband than a hat.
This is more of a headband. Of course, my hair looks great.
Great. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Don't shave, Jason.
For you, I will not shave.
Thank you to McLaren Health System for sponsoring the Brush Street Beat this week and every week here on The Word on Woodward. And now it's time to talk some hockey. We're going to head into downtown Hockeytown, presented by the Bat Blue Light, where Art and I are lucky enough to be joined by NHL.com's Nick Cotsonika. Nick, what have you been up to? Staying well?
Well, I feel underdressed looking at Art, man. Like, is this Alf or is this the Word on Woodward? Like what?
I kind of like it. It's growing on me. Or growing in me, I guess. Maybe I am.
Yeah, I was going to say literally or figuratively.
Yeah. That'll be some sort of phenomenon, right?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Carly. How are you? Good to see you, Art.
Very good. Very good. Good to see you as well. We have a lot to talk about. Nothing solidified, but we do have a lot of speculations. We know that most of the NHL talk is still all up in the air. Well, let's get your thoughts on some of them. I know Art and I were picking each other's brains yesterday, but we're excited to talk to you. The league is reported to start January 13th, putting the Wings in training camp around December 28th. How doable do you think this is? And how do you feel about giving non-bubble teams or non-playoff teams only a few days extra on the ice than the teams that have been on the ice throughout the summer?
Well, it's doable, and nothing's official yet. But obviously, we've seen players start to come over from Europe and to get prepared. Like when Joe Thornton leaves his team in Switzerland to come back to Toronto, things are starting to heat up. I know the Red Wings and the other teams that didn't make the postseason wanted more time to prepare. I think ideally they would have been given more time to prepare, but the calendar is an issue at this point. So they'll get a few extra days. Is that enough? Probably not. Not what they'd like, but it's better than nothing. And I think at this point, we all just want to get back to hockey, get back to the rink. I can't believe I haven't been to Little Caesars Arena since March. I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same.
I have been back to Little Caesars Arena since March, only like 4 times. And I will say this, and I've told Carly this. What's very odd about it is that I had to go up into the cubicle area where the office is on the fourth floor, whatever floor that we're at, and it was like a Twilight Zone episode because everybody's desk was the same as they left it when they left, and everyone's calendar, they still had wall calendars, and they were all to March. They all said
That's
March
weird.
everywhere you looked. I mean, it was kind of eerie, but and hopefully the ice will be in soon. My question to you, Nick, is this. Pierre LeBrun tweeted out yesterday that they had marathon sessions over the weekend. It carried into yesterday. They want to wrap everything up. They want to put it to a vote by the end of this week. If they really want to, the teams that didn't qualify, as Elliot Friedman reported on December 28th, the Monday after Christmas is on a Friday, for those teams to start training camp and then to get on the 13th. I mean, they have to settle this within a week's time, or do you think that if they can settle it before Christmas, let's say, or Christmas Eve, that it's still doable to start training camp on the 28th?
I think it's doable. And like I said, I think the sign is when players are coming back, they know something's going to happen here. So to me, it's dotting I's and crossing T's. They're never going to announce anything until it's all done, but I've got to think that they're well on their way. I mean, we all can read the calendar. We all know what the issue is, but it's a complicated thing. I mean, number one, you've got the economic issues, which we've read and heard a lot about. And then number two, you've got the safety protocols. I mean, this is, again, unlike anything we've gone through before. I mean, they did the postseason, they did the bubbles. Now this is a completely new thing because we're not going to do bubbles the same way we did in the Stanley Cup qualifiers and the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's a whole new set of protocols, a whole new set of procedures, and it's a moving target. I mean, COVID and the situation around it changes every day. You've got two countries, you've got cities within those countries, they're all different. So there are a lot of moving parts here that they've got to nail down, but I see encouraging signs that this is going to come to a resolution soon.
Fingers crossed. And something else that stands out to me about the speculations is the taxi squad talk. I want to know what that would mean for the AHL teams. Would their best guys be playing up, or how do you think that would work? Guys coming back up and down all the time?
Well, and that's a great question that I have and don't have an answer to. Obviously, if the American Hockey League season is going to be impacted, and you need to have the ability to bring up players and have a taxi squad. The problem with the American Hockey League is, they need fans to play just as a business. And so if you can't have fans, it really doesn't work for their business model. So it affects the American Hockey League even more than the NHL. So this is another one of those issues that they've got to iron out and have ready to go when training camp opens.
Nick, when you look at it that way, I mean, if they do get everything settled as it's being reported and they do begin on the 13th, how long a season do you expect this to be? 56 games? Could they squeeze in 62, or do they go down to 54?
Well, I think it'll be in the 50s. Everything that I've read and heard is 52 to 56 games. I don't know what the final number will be, but somewhere in that range. And I think they need to build in a buffer as well, for cancellations and schedule changes. I mean, as we've seen with, things change and you have to be able to adjust, and you can't have too stringent of a schedule with no flexibility in case you have disruptions. I mean, this is different than the postseason where we had two strict bubbles and everything was in sort of its little world. If you're going to have teams playing in their own rinks for the most part, you're going to have some travel. You're going to have people in general society. You're probably going to have some positive, tests, and you're going to have to adjust and change some games around. So, I mean, maybe the calendar says you could play 60-something games if everything went right, but I think you need to build in some flexibility.
Nick, that's a great point that you brought up because, and I think alluding to Carly's point, not only are they going to have, if reports are correct that we've read, they're going to take a 23-man roster, expand it to 26, and then have a 4-person a taxi squad, which means they're going to have 30 players. I would imagine that has to be worked out. If that is how it comes down, are they paid NHL wage? Are they on a two-way contract? If you're a taxi squad, are you paid AHL? I mean, so you're right. As much as we want to see this, there's still a lot of things to iron out, but it does appear, especially because of COVID-19 protocol, that they're going to have to expand the roster at least and probably have a taxi squad. I think we're looking, I guess in my view, what I'm trying to ask you is, I think we're headed in that direction.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by a lot of moving parts. It's not as simple as, all right, boys, let's go play hockey. When you talk about salaries, okay, you're not just talking about how much the players get paid. It's what pool that comes out of, how that affects escrow. I mean, it gets really, really complicated, and they don't like to announce things until they're all, all agreed upon. So that's what I think they're working out right now, and I'm hoping we'll know soon.
Yeah, I think we're all hoping we know soon. But kind of switching gears a tad bit, we're looking at the World Juniors Championship where the Wings have a slew of players, 7 to be exact, playing. Do you think this is beneficial to the development of these young guys, especially after this crazy year?
Absolutely. I think any high caliber hockey that you can play is outstanding. And, Lucas Rehmann has already, shown his mettle on the international stage. And I think it's a big reason why he went as high as he went. I think for the Red Wings in the long term, you want all of these kids playing at a high level, playing competitive games. The great thing about World Juniors is you can compare them against their age group, right? And they're playing for their country. It's high stakes. I think it's a tremendous developmental experience for them. And I'm glad they're getting a chance to do it, even if the circumstances are a little different than normal. I love the fact that the Red Wings have had so many young players and prospects playing in Europe, while North America has been in disarray. I think it's great. Why wouldn't you want them playing professional hockey? Just playing games and getting experience and developing their skills. I think it's all good for Detroit.
Nick, I know the World Juniors is going to be fun, and I know the three of us are going to be rooting hard Americans, and Canada's loaded. But Team Sweden, if you're a Red Wing fan, is must see TV, as I said earlier. But I want to go back to the realignment because we know there's going to be realignment. There's going to be a Canadian division. There seems to be a holdup between the Pacific and Central divisions, or the Western division, whatever they're going to call it. Chicago, Columbus, Nashville, Detroit, Florida, Carolina, and Minnie. But that did not go over very, very well. And that it seems that people want Minnesota to go to the to maybe to the Pacific and move St. Louis in. Are you hearing anything? Do you have an idea of what division, how the realignment is going to shake itself out, and who are the Red Wings going to be playing 8 times a year?
Well, this is where I'm going to frustrate you. Because I work for the league, I hear things, but I'm also very careful not to say anything until it's done, because then I get myself in trouble. I'll tell you something that could change. I think it's changed constantly. People are advocating for what suits them, right? Like, I don't think anybody wants St. Louis in their division because they won the Stanley Cup pretty recently, right? Central teams are saying, put them in the Pacific. And the Pacific teams are like, nah, they belong in the Central, right? I think that's all kind of normal jockeying. I think what we know is you're going to have the all-Canadian division just because of the border. I think for the most part, you're going to have the divisions in the United States are going to be based on time zone. Generally, for travel and for TV, you want your fans to be able to watch your games. I think for Detroit, what I'm hoping, and think is likely is, you're going to get that Detroit-Chicago rivalry for one more year, right? Like, the Red Wings moved divisions and they weren't in the same division with the Blackhawks. So you get 1 year where they're going to be in the same division with the Blackhawks. I think you're going to be in sort of a central division if you just look at geography. This is going to be a weird season. It's going to be short. You're going to have, not full buildings. You're going to have a Canadian division. You're going to have American divisions. So honestly, after what we've gone through for the past few months, like, I hate to say this, I'll take almost anything and I'm going to embrace it. Like, if Detroit plays Chicago a bunch of times, I'm going to enjoy that because we're not going to see that again the following season.
Well, you bring up an interesting point because of COVID-19. Like the Jets can't play in Manitoba as it stands now. The California teams can't play in California. Several teams want to play outdoor games. So let me ask you, do you see the 3 California teams playing someplace else? Do you see the Jets having to play someplace else? And do you see a lot of outdoor games happening because people want, I guess the reason for outdoor games is they think maybe they can have some fans in the stands if they're outside.
Well, the outdoor games, I think, is an interesting idea, right? Because you could play outdoors, you could have some fans in the stands. It seems like a good idea. I think it's something that people investigated. You know, I love outdoor games because look behind me.
I can see.
But
very nice.
Two things about outdoor games. One, even if you play outdoors, you can't have a full house. It would look like a football game in some of these markets we see now. It costs lots of money to put on an outdoor game, right? To build the rink, to build the infrastructure that you need costs lots of money. I don't know that it makes economic sense to play outdoors. And then you also sort of, it dilutes the special event a bit, right? So I think the Red Wings and the league, they want to keep that brand special, right? So I'm not sure we're going to see the outdoor games. As far as, the California teams and the Jets, yeah, I think that they're going to have to come up with contingency plans. I know Bill Foley, the owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, talked about having the California teams play in Vegas. And Vegas is this, place where there's lots of hotel rooms. They've got a first-class practice facility. They got T-Mobile Arena. It's close to California. It seems to me to be a natural sort of hub where, California teams could go until they can go back to their home rinks. But this is what I mean about COVID is it's different in different markets. It's a moving target. It's also going to evolve from week to week and month to month. So maybe the Sharks can't play in Santa Clara County now. Maybe they can in February or March. I don't know. So we're going to have to be nimble. We're going to have to be flexible and sort of take it as it comes over the next few months.
It's certainly a fluid situation, but Nick, one last question here for you. With the realignment and the condensed season possibilities, again, it's a fluid situation. Do you think this could benefit the Red Wings? Do you think this could hurt the Red Wings? Or do you think it's just not going to affect them all that much?
Well, that's a good question, Carly. I mean, I think if you really want to be optimistic, a short season just creates more opportunities for randomness, right? Where, there's a smaller sample size of games. If you get hot, maybe you can make a run and squeak in. I think we thought that with the Tigers, right? But it didn't really work out, right? I really don't think it affects the Red Wings too much. I think they are what they are. I think they should be better than they were last season. But I still think that they're not a playoff team and that what's most important is development for the long term. But you never know. I mean, we've had this long layoff and we've got a shortened season. I think there could be some room for some unexpected things to happen. And I think if you're looking really optimistically, I think that could help the Red Wings.
Some realism with a dash of optimism. I like it. Again, I'll take it. But Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Hopefully we'll see you soon at Little Caesars Arena and covering some live hockey.
I would love that. And Art, you look great, buddy. Love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Nick. I'm using my Michigan degree to its fullest potential.
Attaboy.
Love it. Well, thank you again. And thank you to Labatt Blue Light, refreshingly Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. And now I'm excited to hand it off to Art, where he caught up with another familiar face around the Red Wings locker room. Art?
Well, thank you, Carly. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. And our guest is Fox Sports Detroit's own Trevor Thompson.
It's been a long few months, brother. I think we all know that.
Well, it certainly has, and we're going to get into a little bit of hockey, but I really wanted to go talk a little bit about the Tigers. Baseball always has something going, Rule 5, tender offers and all that, but Al Avila said something really, really interesting when he was part of the MLB Players Alliance, where great charitable organization, Cameron Maven came in, a lot of ex-Tigers, current Tigers, helping out the community here during the holiday season, and he said, and it sounded weird, he said, we don't want to add something and then pay off a bad contract and it not be the right move. And it kind of told me it's not that he's scared to make a move. as much as maybe there's a lot of young talent that the Tigers are on the verge, and maybe they want to see what they have first before they go out and splurge.
A lot of young talent, especially if you look at the outfield. You've got guys like Derek Hill who look like they're ready to make it. You still want to see what you've got out of a Travis Demerit. Not enough of a sample size there really to really find out. And then you see what Victor Reyes was able to do all over the place since he's really come into his own the last few years. Jacoby Jones, he and Reyes still vying for that center field, who would play there better, but you've got a lot of outfield to cover there, and both of those guys can cover a lot of ground. You're still waiting on Kristen Stewart, so there are a lot of question marks out there, Art, so you can see why he'd want to be patient before going out and big money on somebody who could turn out to be redundant, or you've got a kid who you're really taking a spot from if you're just patient enough to let him develop into that. So I understand where he's going. At the same time, I also understand Tiger fans want to see a winner. They want to see this team spend money, get back to the playoffs, and be a World Series contender once again. But that is going to take some time, my friend.
Right. Well, he keeps saying, I saw him during an interview, he addressed the media during the MLB Player Alliance thing that they had. And he said, no quick fix. There's no quick fix. He wants long-term goals. And when you look at it, and I was actually joking around with AJ Hinch last week, and I said, I almost forgot that the Tigers had a farm system at one time, because they just weren't producing any players, really. And now, depending on the service, they're second or third or even first in some. I mean, this is a team that's on the verge. And I guess we have to really look at the starting pitching when you look at Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal, Matt Manning, Alex Faedo, and we can actually go on. So the nucleus is there. And unlike the White Sox, who are looking at it as maybe being a power club and a hitting club because they're stacked 1 through 9, the Tigers have gone the other way. And this is going to be a team that's going to be built on, I believe, pitching and defense.
But they're going to have great pitching down the road. And we saw some growing curve, the learning curve for some of these guys, some growing pains early on for Casey Mize last year, Tarek Skubal, a couple of bumps in the road. But you saw the upside. You see flashes of brilliance from those guys on the mound. We didn't get to see Matt Manning or Alex Faedo, but we know they're coming. We know what stuff they've got. We've seen them perform at the lower levels, and they are among the best at what they do. Certainly among their age coming up. So you've got those guys on the mound, but then you look at the draft and what it's done for you as far as sticks go, and you look at Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green, and these guys can tear the cover off the ball, and they're going to press for the majors sooner rather than later. So you've got guys to look forward to on the mound, Art. You've got guys to look forward to at the bat. We saw Brian Garcia step up and look like he can be a closer at the big league level and carry on from what he did at the college level. There's a lot excited about on the mound and at the plate.
Well, what I actually like about the Tigers too is the fact is that they're so deep in pitching. You can't forget Daniel Norris, what Cisnero did in the bullpen. You mentioned Garcia. Gregory Soto had a good year. Tyler Alexander, set the major league record with 9 consecutive strikeouts. Last season. So when you put that all together, the thing I find interesting, and I know that we've talked about this before, is that Al Avila has been pretty honest. He, first and foremost, I think the Tigers are going to add pitching. They want to get a couple of arms in there because nobody reached their quota last year because the season was so short. So we could be looking at a 6-man rotation, and Detroit appears to be one of those teams that can handle it, whereas some teams might be, I know there's no cap in baseball, but for monetary reasons, no fans, however the season is going to play itself out, the Tigers seem to be, especially pitching-wise, and being able to add a couple of arms that, I'm kind of looking forward to it. A 6-man rotation does not freak me out.
And you know what? I'm really looking forward to see just how healthy Michael Fulmer can be. We know it takes a while to come back off of Tommy John. He also had the knee thing he had to get over. He's been battling a lot of things. But physically, he looked like he was in maybe the best shape of his life last year. And now that he'll have that year behind him, now that he'll have this work that he got last year under his belt, he won't be coming in just off the injury again. So I think it's going to be interesting to see just how far back he can bounce, get him stretched out again, and add to that rotation because he looked like he had a few things working times last year. And he and Daniel Norris, that two-headed monster, whenever they decided to use the opener, Norris was showing me some things last year as far as calming down and looking like he was able to have a little more poise, a little less ramped up when he got to the mound, and was able to execute a bullpen. Whether they use him in a starter's role if they go 6, or whether it's Manning or Faedo that can take the job out of spring training. It'll be interesting to see, Art, rather. But I want to see what these guys can do next year if they go with a 6-man rotation and give these guys more of an opportunity. And we see more arms because of the fact you just mentioned. They're not all stretched out. They're going to arms. So we'll see more pitchers next and get a taste of what all these guys can do. It's going to be exciting.
Well, it should be exciting, and you stole the words right out of my mouth. I mean, Michael Fulmer could be a key if he can come back and be anywhere near the pitcher he was, when he was Rookie of the Year. I mean, that in itself. I know Alavila keeps saying we got to add some arms, but you put him in and he could be a starter and not that as you said, sharing it with Daniel Norris. The Tigers could be great. You look at Willie Castro, Jamer Candelario seems to be coming in, but I would imagine that the Tigers, if they're going to make a move, they're going to have to probably bring in at least another infielder, whether it's Jonathan Scope or CJ Crone, someone of that ilk. They probably still need a little more depth. I want to say up front, I sound like I'm talking about the Red Wings, but in the infield, it looks like they're and catcher too. I mean, those are two big spots that the Tigers are going to have to probably address.
And I know he's a little bit older now, but he's been a Tiger killer throughout his career. Jason Kipnis is out there as a free agent. Maybe somebody who could fill in at second base if you can't get a Jonathan Scope back and you're wanting to wait on somebody. Or Nico Goodrum is not going to take that job full time if they're going to use him as a utility guy and move him around. That's one guy's name I thought might fit in a situation like that. That might be a low cost, but it all depends on whether you can get Jonathan Scope back or not, because he looked like a world beater in the Tigers uniform last year, and I thought a great candidate to come back. I don't know whether he wants to go somewhere else and what his offers are, what his health situation is like, but he looked great in the Tigers uniform, and I'd love to have him back as well.
Trevor, I want to move on to the Red Wings, but real quickly, we haven't even touched upon maybe the biggest news the Tigers have made this far in the offseason is bringing A.J. Hinch and a very, very impressive coaching staff.
That coaching staff is really impressive. And you look at what Chris Fetter was able to do when he was at the University of Michigan. He sent 8 guys. 8 guys got drafted on his watch in the 3 years he was at the University of Michigan. So he knows what he's doing. He's got a whole technology and the new school way of doing things, yet he's got some old school eye test sort of value, like guys like you and I can certainly appreciate. You can't always rely on the numbers, but I think he's got a great pitching coach. Then he's got Chip Hale as his third. He's got Scott Kuhlback as his hitting coach, and that's a great hire as well. Jose Cruz Jr., I covered him when I was in Toronto when he was a Blue Jay, and he's going to be an assistant hitting coach. I can't wait to see him in town and what they can do. But, Art, one of my favorite moves on that coaching staff, keeping Ramon Santiago. That guy is fabulous, and I'm glad he's still going around with the Tigers next year as well. So looking forward to meeting this staff and seeing what they can do.
Real quickly, though, you talked about some hockey. There's some hockey coming up here, from Christmas Day through like January 6th, I believe it is. The bubble in Edmonton, the World Juniors. Red Wings have 7 players, 7 prospects made their World Junior team, 5 on Team Sweden, 1 Emil Viro, defenseman for Finland, Jan Bednash, who I think could be the steal of the draft, although I'm a goaltending freak, the goalie from the Czech Republic, then Lucas Raymond, Elder Soderblom, Theodor Niederbach, Albert Johansson, I'm going off Gustav Berglund, all of them for Team Sweden, 3 forwards and a defenseman. I mean, we talked about the Tigers, but that's pretty impressive too. What the Red Wings have been able to do, the way Steve has turned this organization around in a quick period of time, it's going to be a while, but the Red Wings are on the right track, I think.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention Lucas Raymond. I could watch Team Sweden and some of these potential future Red Wings get on the ice and see what they've got. But also just to watch the other countries and some of these other kids who were drafted this year and some other kids who are in the NHL but maybe not going to be with their parent club to start the season. It'll be a lot of fun to watch these kids and see what they've got this year. But again, I bet Jeff Blashill last year, I took Canada against the field. And I made out pretty well. I'm not going to let him forget that, so that's why I bring it up right here in case he has an opportunity to see this. Blash, our bet is on again, Canada against the field. If you want to take it and give me some more of your money, I'm good for that.
Well, I have it on pretty good authority. There's two guys that watch every Wild show, Steve Eiserman and Jeff Blashill. They always want to know, especially what I have to say, because, I'm kind of a guiding light. With that said, Trevor, I mean, the additions that they made, free agency, I love the Mark Stahl trade. Do you see Steve doing anything else, or do you think he wants this team to, let's congregate, let's see what we have, and then maybe I might make a move or two?
I think one thing we've learned from Steve, and it's more by observation than actually talking to him, Art, is that he's going to take his time. I love the fact that there's really only two guys signed beyond 2 years with this team.
Right.
So he's got a lot of flexibility with the cap. He's going to have a lot of money to work with, a lot of positions available to attract free agents and build this thing up the right way. He's not tied down to long-term contracts. He's not tied down to big money with the wrong guys. He's taken on a couple of contracts, you mentioned Stahl, in order to get some more picks and continue this rebuild. So I like what he's doing right now. I like the patient approach. And if we think you know what he's going to do next, you're wrong. We're going to have to wait and see on that. But I'm going to be looking forward to whatever that move is, because it looks like it's going to be the right one.
Well, I agree with you, and hopefully it'll get started here in the next couple of weeks. I'll tell you, both franchises, the Tigers and the Red Wings, kind of in the same spot. There does seem to be a lot of youth, a lot of talent up and coming, so hopefully everything their fortunes will turn around rather quickly. Trevor Thompson, unfortunately, we have to end it there, but anyway, Trevor, thanks for joining us here on The Headliner. Really appreciate it. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and yours, and stay healthy, my friend.
Hey, Art, thank you very much. I certainly will. And I got one thing to ask you before I go, Art. What do you think of my new sweatshirt? Exclude You, Christmas edition.
I love it. I love the color. I love everything about it, Trevor. I love everything about it.
Citygirl.com, going to get you one.
All right, sounds good. I'm definitely going to do that. Mike Green always wanted to wear this sweater because it's his old number at a Christmas party. So I'm pretty much a fashion maven myself. But all right, hey Trevor, thank you very, very much. We'll talk to you very soon. Really do appreciate it.
Happy holidays to you and all the viewers, Art.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of The Headliner, presented by Miller Lite. It is the original light beer. It tastes delicious. It's only 96 calories, and it's available for delivery. Carly, back to you.
Wow, love it. I need one of those sweatshirts. Check it out. Trev's wife, that's awesome. All right, well, now it is time for us to hop into Let's Socialize. I'm going to bring back Art. Art, that was a great interview. Always great seeing Trevor Thompson's face.
Yes, Trevor, we go way back. We share a mutual love for the Toronto Argonauts. So we're definitely on the same page in a lot of different things. And he's a big Pinball Clemens fan, and so am I. If you're not an Argos fan, you may not know what I'm talking about, but Trevor's one of the best.
That's for sure. He's really nice too. All right, but we're going to get into, like I said, Let's Socialize. I have a few posts that I want to talk about with some help from our team behind the scenes. We got some great content going on. So first we're going to start. I don't know if you've seen this, because I feel like you may be the artist of this, but there was an artist out there who drew Eiserman. Look at it. It's all just pencil. That's amazing. So they showed the picture, but they also showed the process behind it. I mean, look at that. That's insane. I can't even draw a circle and make it look good. And look at that. That's so realistic. Art, was that you?
That was me. I am left-handed, so I'm very creative. That's incredible. I mean, the shadowing, the shading, what they had to do with pencil. It looks like a photograph. It really does look like a photograph. That is something that, I even look at the Red Wings sticker on the helmet. That looks like a piece of sticker, or tape. I mean, it looks real. It actually looks real. It looks like it's a photograph, or, in a second here, Steve is going to turn around and say, hello, happy holidays to you all. I think that is really, really impressive. I've said this before. I volunteer at the Detroit Institute of Arts in volunteer services, walk around galleries, 3-hour shift. Each hour we switch to a different gallery. And, so I've seen over the last couple of years that I've been doing this, and I encourage everybody to volunteer at the DIAA if you're into art. But I've seen a lot of great artistic things, and one of the most impressive has been, obviously a lot of painting, a lot of sculpture. I mean, a lot of everything. But I've always been drawn to, ink work or drawing or pencils or that kind of thing, because you can really see, and you can do this from, I guess, on most, but you can see the artist's hand. You can see, the meticulousness, what they've done, how they've sketched it, how it looks, and then how lifelike it really, really looks. I mean, that is actually really a tremendous piece. I all kidding aside, I mean, that is really, really impressive. I mean, look at the detail on the ear, CCM on the chin strap, up on the helmet, and and it's captured obviously Yzerman's look. Of course, Steve, highest tolerance for pain that I've ever seen in an athlete. The bridge of his nose is all messed up. He's sweating. He's determined. He's all business. That photograph, even though he's on the ice, and he's, it's during the course of a game. It was probably modeled after a photograph that was taken of Steve Yzerman, but that same look, that same glare, that same focus, that same intensity that really comes out in that picture. Mm-hmm. If you were to go to his office right now, or, at Little Caesars Arena, and you were to walk in, I guarantee you, he will not be in his uniform. He will not be in a Red Wing uniform. He won't be wearing a helmet. But he'll have that same look, that same desire, that same passion, that same fervor that he approaches everything with. I mean, that is Steve Yzerman. That captures him exactly what he's all about. He likes to have fun. He's a good guy. He likes to bust your chops and joke around and all that kind of stuff. But when there's a task at hand, so when he's on the bench, he was a Red Wing player. He's wearing that C. It was all business. What's he doing when he's behind the bench, or behind the desk, I should say, in his office at Little Caesars Arena? He's approaching it just like he did when he was a player. That's why he's successful. No stone will be unturned. He will do whatever it takes. I always joke around. They go, well, Steve, what's it like having him back? I said, if they don't win the Stanley Cup, he's going to die trying, and he's going to take us all with him. I mean, he is just that focused, that intense. That's what he does. And so far, we had Brian Burke on. You talk to anybody. I mean, you're not, just not the Detroit slappies, which I'm one of. Don't talk to us. You read what people are saying about what Steve has done with this organization in a very short period of time. The proof, as Scotty Bowman always said, the proof is in the pudding. Well, Steve is proving that his pudding's tasting pretty damn good right now, because he has made some great moves. I'm eager to see exactly what happens. I hope the Red Wings are back on the ice on the 28th. I want to see this team come together, and then I want to see him maneuver and massage, because they're in a good position. Teams are going to have to, they can't, depending on, the key is going to be the rosters. If they expand the roster, if they're going to expand the rosters from 23 to 26, and then a taxi squad, and maybe they get some sort of cap relief, they're going to have to extend the cap because they have to have all players on for COVID protocol. If all that kind of stuff, maybe their position isn't as good as it is right now, but there's teams that are hurting financially. The Red Wings are not one of those teams. He can take on a big contract, much like Mark Stahl, and then get some more assets, and then maybe trade some of these guys that he brings on, like a Mark Stahl. I'm not saying they're going to trade him at the trade deadline. I think they're going to, but move those guys, bring in more draft picks. I don't know. What do they have right now? What's next year's draft? I guess it's going to be in Montreal, hopefully. What do the Red Wings have, like 40 picks? I mean, it seems every time I see
How did we get here? They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and buddy, you just proved
that picture captures Steve. It has inspired me, and I'm telling you, it's so lifelike, it's so real, that if you look at it, that is Steve Yzerman. Except for maybe the sweat and a cut on the bridge of his nose, you would walk into his office. He's sitting behind his desk, and he's basically looking just like that, because he has a job to do.
That drawing.
Yeah, that drawing is the essence.
Viral.
Right, it captures the essence of Steve Yzerman. The essence of Yzerman is in that drawing. A pen sketch, a pen, or I shouldn't say sketch, a pen draw or a pencil drawing. Pencil drawing, incredible, absolutely incredible.
I'm really scared if anyone's playing the WoW drinking game right now, because you just said Steve like 150 times. So
well, we're a hat trick. Wow, this thing is starting to. I kind of like it though. I don't even know I have it on at this point.
All right, we're gonna go into the second topic of Let's Socialize. I'm like hitting my computer left and right. All right, we had some fans commenting on the Tigers Facebook page with some free agent options. Eddie Rosario would be perfect fit. No Rehmann, and from his stats, he looks like he has speed and a little power, and he is young. That's interesting to look at. I love hearing the fans' perspective of what they think the Tigers should do. Maybe Al Avila's checking the Tigers' Facebook messages or comments and scrolling through them and taking notes.
Well, I can tell you this. As much as everyone loves and cherishes their fans, I don't think too many general managers are scanning fan websites, seeing what they want. Yeah. I mean, they might. There might be. There might be a few of them, I guess. I don't think Steve is one of them. But with that said, and Al Avila for that matter, I like Eddie Rosario. We're familiar with him with the Twins. He's still like 28 years old. He wasn't qualified. They didn't tender him. So, last year, I pulled up his stats here. 13 home runs, 42 runs batted in, 257 average, in 210 at-bats. And 57 hits, I think he had. So, I mean, that's a pretty good quality ball player. I would definitely look at Eddie Rosario as somebody that I would bring in. He's familiar with the Tigers, obviously, with the division. There seemed to be, Badu is from the Twins. If Scope and Chrome come back, they're from the Twins. Maybe Gardy comes back and just says hello a couple of times. He was obviously the longtime Twins manager. There's a Twins flavor on this team. So, Eddie Rosario, I like that move. Now, Austin Romine's really, really interesting. And, we were talking with our producer before the show, Mark Milligan, about this. The thing I like about Austin Romine is this is a young pitching staff. If the Tigers are going to make a big move, I mean a really big move in the standings this year, it's going to be because of their pitching. Their pitching is going to come through. Fulmer is going to come back from Tommy John surgery even stronger. Daniel Norris, our good buddy, the Mr. Surfer dude, with Shaggy the Man. I mean, he's in a comfortable spot. You can tell he's, everything has aligned with him. The surf, the moon, the stars. Daniel Norris, whatever comes his way, he's going to be able to handle. And even though he wants to start, he can do the bullpen row. I believe my main man. I keep this with me at all times.
All times.
I mean, he's definitely. I think he's going to have a big year. Schoolboy is a star, as is Mize, waiting to happen. Great strikeout pitch. Flamethrower, lefty. I mean, so I think it's going to be pitching. Now, what does this have to do with Austin Romine? He's a catcher. He gets along well with this staff. Now, if they can get a Rosario, get a couple of big bats, and maybe protect that lineup, and Mark brought up a good point when we were discussing just the Tigers in general. He said, don't forget, Jacoby Jones in that 9 spot, he did a lot to protect the 6, 7, and 8 hitters too. Well, that would be Austin Romine. Austin Romine was hitting and doing really, really well until injuries played.
Yeah.
Right. He was good. I mean, we're saying this is the guy that you've got to bring back. But, when Scope, Crone, Jacoby Jones go out, they started to have some players with injuries, and, Candyman got hot, and, he got hurt towards the end too. There was a lot of pressure on Romine who, but his main thing, and the reason why I would definitely look at him is because of the way he can handle a pitching staff. You can say no Romine, and granted, if you're counting on Austin Romine to, get you a plethora of runs and be a 300 hitter or a 280 hitter and, 15 to 20 home runs and 65 to 80 runs batted in or something. I don't think he's going to do that. But what I know he's going to do is I think he can handle the pitching staff. I think they're comfortable with him. How many times, Carly, did we hear last year, whether it was a Matthew Boyd or a Spencer Turnbull or, one of the young guys, one of the young kids, or even, a Cisnero or, Gregory Soto, whose English is not the best at this point, but they all, when you brought up Austin Romine, they were all complimentary. They all smiled about him. Tigers have some young, if Rogers could hit, if he could show he could hit, because he has the defensive tools. But I'm talking about handling a pitching staff because it's going to be vitally important. The Tigers have a catcher, even though A.J. Hinch is a former catcher, that the Tigers have a catcher who can handle a pitching staff. Is Austin Romine proved anything last year? He can handle a pitching staff. Granted, he went into a horrible slump. I understand that. I get it. And I can see why people are a little bit, Austin Romine. Yeah, I've been down that street before. No way. But I like the way he handled the pitching staff. Pitching is crucial. If Austin Romine, okay, he may not win you many games with his bat, but the way he calls the game and the way he settles down, a Casey Mize or a Tarek Skubal, or if Matt Manning comes up or Alex Faeda or whomever, if he can go out there, Matt Boyd, hey, Matt, you're throwing out way too many home runs. Why don't you do this? If he can calm those guys down, that's worth victories too. So, I would definitely consider, especially now that McCann's off the market, I would definitely consider looking at Austin Romine as an option. I'm not saying, is he my number one option? I'd like to see Griner or Rogers or, Dingler. Okay. somebody maybe take it younger, but hey, don't just completely write him off.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with the Tigers. We'll see what Al Avila and AJ Hinch decide to do. But one last topic before we wrap things up. We only have a couple minutes left. We had some YouTube comments, Wings YouTube comments about your hair art. So let's run through them. Art, are you joining a rock band? Says Coyote. Mike says, nice flow, Art. It rules. And David Mascot says, Beauty and the Beast. What the heck? I think I'm the Beast and you're the Beauty, Art.
Well, unfortunately, Carly, that's probably true. I would say, hair has always been an issue with me my whole life, and it's these colics. But I really want to put my hair up, and I want to sing the Heat Miser song. Before I'm Mr. Heat Miser. I'm Mr. Sun. I'm Mr. Heat Blister. I'm Mr. 101. That's one of my favorites. I really do like this though. It goes, like I said earlier, it goes right on your temples, and it
go behind your ears.
Kind of puts a little pressure in there, but it's calming. It's soothing. You have a migraine, put this baby on, it'll be gone in a second. But
I don't know. You've been the past couple of questions. It doesn't really soothe you all that well. You've been doing your art rants with
I'm excited. I think hockey is just around the corner, and I know baseball is baseball is going to be played. We have a vaccine, so slowly but surely we're working our way out of this. Thank God. The holidays are here. I'm really getting into the old Christmas cheer. I bought a tree. Number one, if you have not gotten your Christmas tree yet, a real one, if you get a real one,
go get it.
I'm going to tell you, boy, you better get it quick because they are, you can't find a lot in Livonia. Let's just put it that way. But I had to drive all the way out to, Washtenaw County, almost way in the heck out there to get one. And I finally do. So the tree's up, it's fallen. It's going to start decorating it. The cats, all they want to do is just drink the water constantly, which I think gets them a little bit tipsy. They get cats drinking tree water. It's amazing. I think it gets them a little bit stoned.
Oh, wow. Well, that's Art's parting words. Go get your treat, but don't let your cats drink the water. Art, thank you so much. This has been a great show to do together, as always. And thank you to AAA, who says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. Unfortunately, our show has come to an end. We'll be back on Thursday, though, so don't fret. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on live notifications so you don't miss a single second of the Word on Woodward. Also, if you miss anything in the show, you can catch up on past interviews at the WOW YouTube channel or listen to the show as a podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Again, catch the next Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann on Thursday at 12 p.m. on Detroit Tigers and DetroitRedWings.com YouTube and Facebook pages. Until then, stay healthy and happy.